Hello, a very warm welcome to ENF TradeTV, a content platform dedicated to the renewable energy sector. I'm your host Rambak Chatterjee and you are watching Selling the Storm on ENF TradeTV. Today we have with us Mike Consenheim, CEO of SolarNRG Philippines.
Hi Rambak, how are you? Thank you for having me.
SolarNRG Philippines is one of the largest solar energy service providers in the Philippines with over 2 decades of experience under their belt. Hi Mike, welcome to our show Sailing the Storm. Before we start, I will request you to briefly introduce yourself and your company, just for some of our viewers who don't already know you.
My name is Mike Consenheim. I am a Dutch national, but I've been living in the Philippines for the last 12 years. I used to live in the Netherlands before that, studied there, grew up there, studied there, and worked for a solar company there for a couple of months only, where I wrote a business plan. This company was called SolarNRG in the Netherlands. Later on, therefore, I have decided to start SolarNRG in the Philippines together with the support of SolarNRG Netherlands and of course also my local Filipino partners. So we incorporated in 2014 and have now celebrated our 10-year anniversary last March. And we really went through these phases, I would say, where in the beginning it was all about creating awareness. So all of our sales and marketing efforts were all about explaining to people and clients, potential clients, what is solar, how does it work, does it actually work? And then we got to the next phase where people were starting to get more interest and more understanding of, okay, we know what it is, but how exactly does it work for me? What will it do to us? Are there savings? How does this work? What is the investment? What is the return on investment? Are there financing solutions? We got to that phase. And now I would say that currently the industry here in the market has been so developed that we don't have to explain anymore what we sell. We don't have to explain solar anymore. We just have to explain who we are. And even we're getting to the point already where people know who we are. We just have to present them with something that is applicable to their factory or their mall or their cold storage or whatever a business is that our clients are into.
Thank you. It's great having you on the show. Let me dive straight in. What was one of the most challenging and complex projects that you have faced as an installation company when operating on an industrial or a commercial scale?
So I will just pick one for the sake of discussing a specific case study. So in this case, I would like to choose and discuss a fairly recent project we have completed for one of our newer partners, Total Energies. This project was first of all located in the province, meaning not in the big city, quite far. It would normally be an airplane flight or a very long drive, even up to a point where there are no highways anymore. So it's all provincial roads. That's why
so there is a logistical challenge involved in it.
Yeah, we already had a logistical challenge involved, and then the project became even more interesting / challenging because it is a mall, quite known mall in the Philippines. I cannot reveal yet the name, but it's one of the most known mall builders and operators in the Philippines. But the challenge we had is that they were demanding, not requesting or negotiating, they were demanding that we were not allowed to install the solar racket system directly into the roof. We were only allowed to use a ballast system, meaning we were not allowed to penetrate into the roof slab because it was a flat roof, and only work with ballast. And this was the first project for this kind of scale. It was a 2.7 megawatt where we had to use ballast solution in an area that is quite prone to typhoons. As you know, the Philippines is very prone to typhoons, and this area
and strong winds are a major concern.
Yeah, we've seen wind speeds reach up to 250 and above. So this is a challenge that we do actually deal with, and we are very concerned about always. And we don't like to what do you call it? Cheap out on or like budget under budget on. Let's call it that way. We generally want to make sure that for ballast systems or just in general solar systems in the Philippines, we take into consideration that there are typhoons here. We have typhoon season every year. So having said that, the main challenge for this ballast installations, it was a large scale, and we had to work with a specific ballast size that we had to produce ourselves. So suddenly, out of our experience, where we normally install racket systems that are all we're familiar with for the last 10 years, we had to come up with a design for a ballast that we had to produce ourselves on site, because it's logistically quite impossible to have it produced off-site, because these ballasts, they weigh quite significant amounts of kilos.
Okay, so it's like a challenge to produce them somewhere else and then move it to the site because of the remoteness of the location.
Yes, and then besides the remoteness of the location, having to come up with a new skill of designing and understanding how to make ballast and that it doesn't fade away after a year or two, we also had to consider that if you put too much ballast, you will destroy the roof slab, because there's also a waterproofing level on top of the roof. So there were so many considerations to take into account into delivering this project successfully, and it was quite a challenge. Not an easy client also that we had to work with. So yeah, besides specifically the ballasting, the client itself was a challenge to deal with. A lot of last minute changes, a lot of delays. Sometimes we were allowed to use a space. Sometimes we were not allowed to use a space to lift up materials up on the roof. We had to suddenly rent a crane that we've never rented before as well, and understand the logistics of a crane, the cost of this involved. We shouldered it. We did what was necessary in order to deliver this project, which I'm proud to say.
Okay, something that I have always been curious about when handling this kind of complex project, what would be the typical flow? Are there situations where you are taking decisions real time, or like everything is planned tip to toe?
No, I would say that planning is 80%, 70 to 80%, but you have to always be ready to be agile, flexible, and be able to make and take decisions on a short-term basis. Let me just put it like that. So what we do and what we find very important in our company is short interval control, meaning you have controls in place where you have regular, for example, weekly reporting. So some of the teams or some of the levels or positions in the company, they have daily reporting. So what are you supposed to do for that day, and at the end of the day, what was actually done today? That's on the ground level. But then on reporting level, I would say that on a weekly basis, we would report progress, but also issues, challenges, and immediately involve the client as well when we deal with an issue, and try to work towards a solution. So again, weekly reporting, direct communication lines, short interval controls in place. These are things that you need in place in order to prevent escalation of unavoidable issues and to solve issues fast.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the unique environmental, logistical, or the technical challenges that you faced during this project?
There was a technical difficulty we had there in terms of not only technical material-wise, but also technical as in approval-wise. We need to get an approval to technically tap into the system at a specific point in their lines. So there was a little bit of forth and back and a change of plans to get back to your question.
In hindsight, is there anything that you would have done differently to make the process more efficient and smooth?
Absolutely. I think that every project comes with a list of things that we learned from, or that we want to do better in every other project moving forward. So we generally try to keep, and this is something we learned during this project also, we try to keep a so-called project diary, which is basically something that we put on the project manager in charge, and we ask him to make sure that a project diary includes activities on a daily basis, maybe some more significant ones, not all of them, but specifically milestones that are being achieved, milestones related to contract terms, milestones related to invoicing, to payment terms, milestones related to client demands, milestones in general, very important, as well as agreements that are being made outside of the contract, because there are always agreements that follow after contract signing, and then you still go to the site, you finalize certain technical designs, or you make some adjustments. Everything has to be documented, and that's one of the key takeaways that I would say that is important to consider for any project moving forward, that we learned specifically there. Make sure there's a project diary in place, make sure that you register milestones, dates of milestones, agreements made with both client and user, developer, etc. Everything has to be documented. Very, very important.
Being one of the largest installation companies in the Philippines, what are the current trends that you see in the residential and the commercial solar energy space?
For residential, it's very slow. I wouldn't say that I'm seeing a huge trend improvement. Again, talking about villages in, for example, Metro Manila or on a per house basis, I don't see very huge development in terms of the trend there. In terms of residential developers, meaning housing developers, I do see a trend, and the trend is simply that solar is moving away from becoming an option, or moving away from being an option to becoming part of the house. And then for commercial, yeah, the trend is still the same. It's the same, it's increasing. Everybody wants solar. Every single commercial establishment, business, industrial or not, wants to have solar, because it is simply a lot cheaper than the electricity from the grid, and you will earn a solar system back in no time. Whether you buy it, invest in it, or lease it, or buy the power, it doesn't matter which option you choose. It's all of them are a better option than not having solar. So the trend is just more growth.
It's great having you on the show, Mike. The experiences you shared bring immense value to our viewers, and I hope to have you on our show soon again.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, and it was a pleasure answering all of your questions.
As we continue to bring you more informative videos, we request you to like and subscribe to our channel. I am your host, Typhoon for ENF TradeTV.